Hello, and welcome to the introduction of the new Class 5 2377 Axial-Flow Combine. I'm Terry Snack, Combine Marketing Specialist for Case IH, and in this program I'll be sharing with you some of the history, background, as well as the current state of the Class 5 Combine market. I'll also review with you how to position the 2377 not only against competition, but against our own Class 6 2388. And finally, we'll examine each of the functional areas of the Combine and see how much extra capacity, productivity your customers can expect from the new Class 5 2377. And you'll learn why we say the new Class 5 2377 is the biggest little combine in the industry. In 1977, when International Harvester introduced the very first 300 Axial-Flow combines, the 1460 combine was the largest combine in our line. It was designed for those progressive farmers that were pushing the envelope and moving up to 6-row corn heads and 20-foot platforms. Today, some 3 decades later, in 2005, the 2377 Class 5 combine is the smallest combine that we make. But today we'll examine how the extra productivity and capacity fills that Class 5 market that's still a very, very valuable part of our combine market. Today it represents about 18% of the total combine industry, with less than 1,000 units a year being sold. Now let's review combine classes. Combines are put into market classes based on engine horsepower. The Class 5 market are combines that have base engine horsepower of 268 or less. This 2377 has 250 base engine horsepower, and it rises to 265 horsepower when you hit the governor with it in that tough going conditions. Let's take a look at how to position the 2377 in the marketplace today. And probably one of the first questions that you may have in your mind is, isn't the 2377 just a stripped down version of the 2388? And the answer to that question is no. While the primary difference between the two machines is engine horsepower and grain tank size, they're designed for two totally different markets and are positioned in two different market classes. The 2377 is a Class 5 machine. That's the 6-row corn head, 20 and 25-foot platform size machine, where the 2388 is a Class 6 machine at 280 base engine horsepower and boost up to 292 horsepower. It's designed for the 8-row corn head market, the 30-foot platform market. Let me ask you a basic question here. How many of you have sold 2188s? I think most of you have. And 2188s had a base engine horsepower of 260. There was no rise or boost on a 2188. Now, did you ever have horsepower complaints with a customer that had a 2188? Some of you may have, and think back to the conditions that combine was operating in when you had those customer complaints on horsepower. Typically, it was an 8-row corn head, probably a 30-foot platform. It was in tough green stem conditions, maybe extremely high yielding crop conditions. Maybe there were hills involved, maybe it was muddy, and probably it had one of those satellite dishes on top of the grain tank to get you that extra radio station reception that you all want. My point is here, guys, the 2377 is an ideal machine for the 6-row corn head, the 25-foot platform. But if you had a 2188 customer that says, hey, I'm happy with the horsepower I've got, I couldn't use any more horsepower, that person might be an ideal candidate to replace his 2188 with this 2377. The 2377 actually has 5 horsepower more than his 2188 did. And as we'll see in a minute, the new 2377 also uses the AFX rotor that gives you between 5 and 25% additional throughput capacity. His 2188 used a standard rotor or a specialty rotor, and he did not have that productivity advantage of being able to utilize the AFX rotor. So, if you position the 2377 as a Class 5 machine with its intended 6-row corn head, 20 or 25-foot platform, you've made yourself a happy customer for life. If you try to stretch the envelope and sell it as a stripped-down 2388, you're inviting horsepower complaints for those customers that are pushing the envelope for this horsepower range. Now, some of you may be asking, Isn't Case IH doing the same thing in their marketing strategy that Deere does in theirs? That is, taking the same basic combine and trying to cover multiple different market classes with the identical machine? And the answer to that question is no. Let's take a look at the John Deere STS, for example. The 9660 Class 6 STS, the 9760 Class 7 STS, and the 9860 Class 8 STS are all three identical machines. They have the same size feeder, same size rotor, same size thrashing system, same size clean grain elevator. The primary differences between those three machines are engine horsepower and optional equipment. Yes, even all three of those machines run exactly the same grain tank size, 300 bushel. Now let me ask you another question. Doesn't it make good sense that a customer that runs a Class 6 9660 combine will run a smaller corn head than a customer that has a Class 8 9860 combine? I'm sure you'll agree with me. The answer to that is yes. So how can those two customers have balanced performance, have full utilization of those machines when they all have exactly the same componentry? Either that machine is overbuilt for the Class 6 market or it's underbuilt for the Class 8 market. Trying to bridge three different market classes with one basic platform or combine design is just too much of a stretch. Let's take a look at your Class 5 2377 and your Class 6 2388. Since the introduction of the Axial-Flow combine back in 1977, we've always used the common platform approach. For example, what's the primary difference between a 1440 combine and a 1460 combine, or even a 2344 combine and a 2366? The answer to that is grain tank size and horsepower. But both those machines were designed for two different market classes, even though they shared common componentry. Today, we're using that exact same marketing approach with the 2377 and the 2388. The 2377 is designed for a 6-row application or a 20 or 25-foot platform and covers that Class 5 market. The 2388 Class 6 machine is designed for an 8-row corn head or 30-foot platform and covers that Class 6 market. But both those machines are based on the same common platform, and to span two market classes is not much of a stretch. The robust design of our combine platform allows us to do that very comfortably. The same is true on the higher platform machines as well. We'll have a common platform to cover both the Class 7 and the Class 8 markets. This common platform design has served Case IH well for almost 3 decades. This gives your customers the balanced performance, the matched capacity that they've come to expect from the Axial-Flow combine. Sell the advantages of that matched capacity, that extra productivity, the extra throughput capacity that the 2377 brings to that Class 5 market. Now let's take a look at the various functional areas of the 2377 and see exactly what size componentry you have when compared to the 2366 that it replaced for that Class 5 market. We'll also look at the percentage increase and the capacity and extra productivity your customers can expect from the 2377, the biggest little combine in the industry. The feeder house on the new Class 5 2377 measures 45.8 inches in width. And when compared to the 36.5-inch width feeder used on the 2366, that's almost 20% greater feeding area. The 2377 also utilizes a 3-strand feeder chain, and when compared to the 2-strand feeder chain used on the 2366, it gives you additional strength, greater reliability, longer service life, and it's less susceptible to bending than the 2-strand design on the 2366. Greater capacity is another big advantage here in the rotor cage, concave, and grate area. The rotor cage is made of AR-235 steel. Compared to the mild steel cage used on the 2366, it has greater wear resistance. It'll give longer service life, lower the cost of ownership over the life of the combine for your customers. Because of the 30-inch diameter replacing the 24-inch diameter rotor on the 2366, we have more concave wrap, larger concave area, almost 20% larger concave area. And the same way in the grate area here in the back of the combine, we have over 29% larger separating area because of the increased grate area as well as the larger perforations in the cage with the larger diameter cage. Another area where your customers will find increased capacity is in the rotor. The 2377 features a 30-inch diameter AFX rotor. When compared to the 24-inch diameter standard or specialty rotor used in the 2366, it delivers up to 20% additional surface area for better thrashing in those tough, hard thrashing grain stem soybean conditions. And the AFX design gives you between 5 and 25% additional throughput capacity, a big advantage for that tough condition. Another area where you'll find a huge capacity advantage with the new 2377 is in the cleaning area. For example, the cleaning area of the 2377 is 7,947 square inches. And when you compare that to the 5,918 square inches on the 2366, that's almost 26% larger cleaning area capacity. The clean grain elevator on the new 2377 is another area for a larger capacity. This clean grain elevator measures 8 inches by 11.1 inches, and when compared to the 6-inch by 11.1 inch elevator used on the 2366, that's almost 25% additional capacity. Tailings elevators, while they're the same size both on the 2366 and the 2377, 6 by 8, remember, tailings you want to keep at an absolute minimum. So the elevator capacity is not an issue in the tailings area. As we compare the grain tank size of the 2377 at 190 bushel compared to the 180 bushel of the 2366, we see there's a 5% increase there. Now, compared to the 20 to 30% increases we've seen in the other functional areas of the combine, that 5% may not seem like a whole lot. But remember, most farmers, to take advantage of the capacity of the machine and to get more bushels per day, dump on the go. So grain tank size is not nearly as big an issue as the other functional areas were. While the unload rate is the same on both the 2366 and the 2377 at 1.9 bushels per second, your customers will appreciate the extra length of the standard equipment 208-inch long unloading auger on the 2377. When compared to the standard 172-inch long unloading auger on the 2366, that's over 17% extra reach for making unloading on the go safer and easier in that harvest condition. The new 2377 Rotor Drive uses a 3-speed gearbox versus the 2-speed gearbox used on the 2366. This gives the customers the ability to run the rotor over a wider range of speeds in each gear and still keep the rotor belt positioned in the center of the pulley for maximum belt contact and driving force. The larger diameter groove pulleys and longer rotor belt of the new 2377 also helps to run the rotor belt cooler with reduced belt flexing for longer rotor belt life. And don't forget, the new 2377 also offers a 2-speed hydro option, which was not available on the 2366. This option provides extra field speeds to ensure maximum combine performance with a minimal amount of stopping to shift gears. Both the 2366 and the 2377 use the 8.3-liter Case IH engine for horsepower at 250 base engine horsepower on both of them. But remember, the 2377 features an additional 15 horsepower growth when the governor is activated. That gives you the extra power to handle the extra capacity of the components in those hard thrashing crop conditions. One of the keys to maximizing combine performance is keeping it in the field. Customers will really appreciate the new 180-gallon fuel tank on the 2377 compared to the 130-gallon fuel tank on their 2366. That's almost 28% greater fuel capacity. And since both engines are set at a base 250 engine horsepower, that'll give them longer time in the field harvesting between refueling stops. Now you know why we say the 2377 is the biggest little combine in the industry. Compared to the 2366 it replaces, this new 2377 is between 20 and almost 30% larger in every functional area of the combine. And when you compare that to the competition, the numbers are even more impressive. And that'll be the subject of a future product information piece and video release. The 2377. It will give your customers greater productivity, greater throughput capacity, It'll give them more value for their dollar than any other combine in that Class 5 market. It'll raise customers' expectations about what a Class 5 combine should do. Sell the Axial-Flow combine with confidence and sell the features and benefits and extra capacity of the new 2377 Class 5 combine. Thank you very much.